are lots of really innovative ways to share in prosperity. And prosperity is a lot of things, right? Prosperity isn't just money.
Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. And welcome everybody to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. I am so grateful to be with you. I have an amazing guest today. This was my first business coach, literally my first business coach back in the 2000s. And I just remember I didn't work with her first. My wife did. She was like, Coco is such a brilliant marketer. She had sent items to be able to put on your refrigerator. So I kept seeing her picture and like all about trusting, trust yourself or something. I forget, but something like that. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I love that. And but anyway, I ended up working with her, and she was phenomenal for me in blasting off my business and getting started online. And she's up to these incredible things with her work, and she's definitely for a force for good in a business. And she is just amazing strategically. She's very keen on how to grow businesses that want to scale up, especially from $1 million on up. But she's just amazing at that. And I'm just so grateful for what the heart that she is more than anything. I just love Coco. So Coco, I'm so grateful that you're here today.
Oh gosh, I'm so happy to be here with you, Dan. It was just such a treat to be able to reconnect with you after all these years and to see all that you're doing. And I just love the idea of spiritual rock star because, we're out here in the world, and if we don't bring our spirit with us, right, there's only so far we can get in creating a life we want. And, success is pretty empty, right? Without it, at least it is for me. So I'm super happy to be here and honored to be, on your show.
Awesome. Yeah, likewise, of course. All right, so let me share about Coco. Coco Sellman believes business is a force for good. With purpose-led women leaders at the helm, she believes we can elevate society. With over 25 years of entrepreneurial experience, she has launched 5 companies and guided over 500 startups. Maybe I was one of those kind of, right?
Yeah,
Coco devised the Force for Good system, an elevated model for successful women entrepreneurs and wholehearted men who aim to grow their ventures from $1 million to over $20 million in annual revenue. We got to talk, Coco. We got to talk. All right. Her approach, detailed in her upcoming book, The Force for Good, is set for release right now, basically, when this show is airing, right here in October. Integrates strategy and execution with wisdom, transformation, and community, which is what I've always loved. Is she blends this all together, the spiritual rockstar way, and contrasting with traditional systems developed by patriarchal men. I'll say it, put it that way, just
yes,
men.
yes,
Right?
yes.
Her recent notable success was founding her healthcare company to 8 figures revenue and 4-figure profits in under 4 years, and spearheading a strategic merger in 2021. She now serves as a board director, strategically steering the company and broadening her influence. Coco's model strives to enhance the prosperity and brilliance of all involved. Of course, that's amazing. Fostering enduring success and profound societal impact. Yes, I'm so grateful again you're here. Coco, listen, that last bit too is just really grabs me because one of my guides and mentors in my life has been I don't know if you've heard of him. His name is Mark Allen.
Hmm.
And he's a publisher of books. He's
Yes, yes,
been one of the publishers of like Eckhart Tolle
yes,
and things.
yes.
And we've developed a connection and sort of a friendship. You know how it is. Like I'm friends with you too. Like we might not talk all the time, but it's like, oh yeah, that person's a friend of mine. And one of the things is he's really been able to grow an amazing, publishing company. And he just swears by, you share the profits with your employees. Like you just they get 50% or something. I don't know how he divvies it up exactly, but he's like, they get 50% of profits, non-negotiable. And
Mhm.
that it's not about a domination model,
Yes.
okay, I was just thinking about this at lunchtime again. I was thinking, what what leader of a company thinks in terms of like, I want to make like 200,000 times what my employees make or something like, but
Right.
that's kind of what happens, with these big companies is, anyway, and I think it's crazy. I don't think it's correct. I think it's not a good way to go. I think we should be, because his philosophy is and I think we see other examples, and you have the examples, and that's why I'm leading into a question that there's a lot of companies like his that see far greater growth when they're willing
Yes.
to really give more to the people that work with them. So
Yes.
I'd love to hear about that because that's all about getting out of the I'm just calling it patriarchal, capitalistic patriarchal maybe or something like that, like kind of
Yeah.
system, and taking it to more of a cooperative, collaborative, partnership, a full partnership type of model with, especially an employee-based kind of company, especially too. There's so much more good that can happen through that. So I'd love for you to share your experiences with that. Any that you have that you would like to share, just dive right in here. And any business models that you've seen out there that people would know about that have operated that way, just to encourage everybody, like this really works.
Totally. You know, it's such an important part of the puzzle, like how you, for me, there's like some, first of all, there's so much about running a business that when we go into growth, we go into overcoming challenges, we go into fear, right? And so there's the opposite of fear, of course, is love. And it's about digging into a deeper part of ourselves that knows something richer, deeper, more sustaining, more lasting, and more prosperous exists. That there's a bigger idea of what prosperity can be. And when, building a Lume, which was my healthcare company, that has since merged with another company called Allpoint, we, from the very beginning, my focus has always been on the team. It is about creating a place that people love to work. I was part of our culture book that was, always that, my secret wish, even though it was everybody knew my secret wish, but my secret wish, my deep desire was that for every person who was part of the team, that they're not just what they did at work, but their lives would be transformed as a result of working in connection with the business, that they would see and experience a way of interacting with other people that brought out the best in them, created their brilliance come into action, and that it felt appreciated and valued. And then the next thing could come, and there in that cycle of perpetual growth, that's not just growth for growth's sake, but growth because it expands our souls, it expands what's possible in the world and the universe. You sort of, the idea is to harness all of us together as a piece of art to create more prosperity in the world. And so, yes, tangibly speaking, it is very much, the Force for Good model is very much about understanding the needs of each individual and how it is, what drives and motivates, and what keeps a person afloat. Because most of us in the world, there are some that are of the exception, most of us are not just driven by money, right?
Right.
And really, if you dig in with anybody who really thinks they're driven by money, they're really not, right? They're
Right.
they're actually looking for something else. And so if we can tap into how we can create those important feelings of acceptance and belonging and celebration and acknowledgement as part of the DNA and the operations of a business, people will love coming to work, and they will find joy in the challenges. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes people get upset. Sometimes you have ups and downs, but you do it in a context, in an environment where everybody's growth is part of what you're looking to achieve. And there are some very different ways. The Force for Good model doesn't necessarily say this is how you have to do it. It's an open system that allows you to choose, put your own wisdom into it. It helps you clarify the important questions that one needs to ask themselves in order to cultivate growth within their business. But the idea is to put your own wisdom in. And if your wisdom is guiding you to create a stock option sharing program, profit sharing with your team, then by all means, that's what you need to do, right? And there are, one of the things I like founders to really consider, because it shifts the mindset when how you frame a goal changes, right? How you do approach it. So if you're thinking about the long term and not just today, what do I need right now? But if you're thinking big picture, one day it would be nice if this entity, this beautiful co-creation with this team, could live and breathe without me. What are the ways in which it could? And one of those ways is, they call it an ESOP, right? An employee stock option program, where literally you can have Ben and Jerry's is a perfect example of companies. There's lots of them that have done it, where they actually, as an exit plan, they buy out the owners through an employee stock option. They don't actually have to pay for it, but it's a process that happens over time. So there are lots of really innovative ways to share in prosperity. And prosperity is a lot of things, right? Prosperity isn't just money. So creating an environment for people can experience prosperity in a way that's unique to them.
Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free meditate, make money meditation today.
Yeah, I mean this is such a timely interview, as all the interviews I have seem to be all the time. I'm like, because whatever the interview is, it seems to be exactly a big part of my conversation right now, and in my life, and in, maybe in my business if it's a business type of focused show. And right now I won't publicly announce it, but I have these big, and I've kind of talked to you about it, but I have these big ideas with my energy scan training, for example, and
Huh?
wanting to go really large with the number of people that receive that training, because, coming back to it after I took my own hiatus from doing that, largely, I just like, it's a 2-day training I do. And after the first day, even people are just blown away. They're like, literally, I could tune into people like this. Are you kidding me? Like, not everybody's that blown away, but most of them are, like vast majority. And almost everybody is able to do it right away. There's some exceptions. Some people have to practice more and everything. I mean, we're talking from day one, a lot of them like just instantly, bang, and there is so much that happens with that, like so many things that start to change for them. Bottom line, without just going on and on about this training, is I'm so like, I so knew this was supposed to happen at some point in my life. And now that I can see it, even though it's still, you'd say, oh, it's so small right now, but I can feel the momentum. And literally, what I've been telling people is this true. The people coming through it are my sales force, and they are coming in with a sense of belonging with what we're doing, a sense of community, a sense of, we're all about this. We're right there with you. And then they ask, oh, what, I'm becoming an affiliate, I make some money. Okay, great. What do I get? That's like totally secondary. I mean, people are for something they wanted to get behind, right? Like a mission. That's what I've seen with all the successful companies. It's the mission, it's the driving force of the values, the mission, the vision, or whatever of that company. That, some people, they'll leave these companies, they come back, they can't get enough of it. They're like, oh my God, I feel so lost without being part of this company. And so as long as it's something so kind of irresistible naturally for what it is, you can really expand a business. And if you just harness that and just you're willing to share the abundance, energetically with everybody, what's happening, rather than there's so much online. I'm just going to rant for a second with the coaching healer, leader model. And I rant on this show about this. Okay, I'm gonna make 7 million or 8 million or whatever, 100 million this year, and I'm gonna transform lives absolutely. But I'm gonna make all this money, and like it's like always for 1 year, right? And whereas my vision is right now is some people do 20-year vision. I have a 10-year vision, right?
Yes, yes.
It's not fully harnessed and tuned in very fine detail, but I have a vision, and that's a driving force so that I'm not sitting here. To me, it's almost like a survival kind of thing when you're focused on 1 year, whatever the number is. We're gonna get to this number this year, and that's what we're focused on. We're gonna make a lot of money, and I think we don't think long term enough, and then that becomes destructive because you're not considering the chaos and the mayhem you may be creating for yourself and others in that process. So I'd love any reflections on that as well. Like that,
Oh,
I
yes.
don't know, so many things here.
So
Yeah.
many things. So I will say, dollars are a placeholder for a dream. And
Mhm.
so, wherever any of us is in our journey, we're here, right here. And right here is always good, right? Like honor whatever it is. And then we decide and the nice thing about dollars is they're specific and we know when we hit them. But it's very important to understand as we're going through that journey, and you're speaking to it, the angst that comes with these numbers and the competition, the sort of the external validation, not the deep, true self-sustenance that comes from doing work that we care about. And so it's a placeholder. Here's what I think about entrepreneurs. All right. This is what I believe. I
Mhm.
believe those of us who were put on this planet to be entrepreneurs, we have no choice. Our life school and our soul's expansion is about playing in that field. And all the changes and manifestations in the outer world are a reflection of ourselves. You know this. This is like old school stuff. But like really, really. So when and this is one of the things about that can be unique for women, is when you are going through a process of growth, and especially financial growth, and in some cases, going out and asking for funding, whether it's venture capital, angel investors, private equity, loans, whatever it is, there is a reclamation that we have around our worth. There's a reclamation that we have around our enoughness. There's a reclamation that we have permission to be who we are in the world. So these numbers, and this is true for anybody, but the not enoughness thing is sort of a societal thing that's unique to women. And it's not it also includes men. I'm not going to say that it doesn't. But so these numbers, as we move toward it, if we can learn, and this is part of when we coach ourselves to give those numbers, attach a different meaning to what they're about, what the gift is of our own transformation, our own healing, our own overcoming. So yes, you're going to make all these calls, sales calls, and you're going to be more visible, and you might have to write more blogs, and you might have to show up in more rooms, and but that's reclaiming your power. It's reclaiming your purpose, your value in the world. It's my worth, my enoughness. So it is a very dangerous place to go if you're just focused on the external, especially if it doesn't feel good, right? And some people are like wired to go after that, and I'm like you. I run for the hills because it doesn't resonate.
Right.
And so I look for things that resonate, right? I look for places to go, and here is a wonderful place, right? Where I feel like, okay, my higher self is turned on by this conversation, rather than feeling vulnerable or scarce, or I got to do this, I have to sign up right now, or I'm going to something's going to be lost. Nothing's going to be
Right.
lost. You're
We have
okay.
these, 100 of those to give you, and you won't get this special apple otherwise you would get, and like all the
Your
things.
life is going to be over and your business is going to shrink and all the, no, I don't, like, look, you're okay, right? Growth is about honoring where you are and saying, hey, here's where I am. Here's what I've done so far. Here's where this, everything I'm doing now is producing this result. And the bigger your team, and this is the thing about, okay, founders, as we grow our teams, right? It's just our art form. It's where we could be painters, we could be, singers, we could be musicians, architects. It's our form of art. We can't help ourselves. What's unique about us is that we interact with others and co-create. And so as our teams grow, our inner capacity to allow not only for our own growth, but for the process of other people to grow, right? That's big work. It's big work. Okay, being with a company where it is and seeing what's wrong with it and being okay. That takes some serious cojones, right? And that's more of the sometimes I refer to the work of the way I like to do it is, it's about being a heart-centered dragon slayer. Right? Because you really do have to go out into the world and do hard things. You have to bring your courage to work. You have to, do some hard stuff. And the thing I like about the Dragon Slayer is that it taps on what you said, which is mission, right? Like what's my purpose? I'm going to slay a dragon. I'm doing something of purpose, intention, because that dragon is going to kill my family or whatever. But I'm more interested in how can this business that I'm in transform the world? How can it transform society? How can it transform the customer experience? How can they have a new experience that they're not having? And those are that's why being in your heart-centered dragon slayer is a term that I like to use.
Yeah, I like that because it brings, especially for a lot of the people listening, which could be all kinds of different people depending, but typically people who are heart-centered and they are light workers, light leaders, coaches, healers, spiritual entrepreneur type of people. And most of the people that are in their heart and want to get their business growing more or break through in the first place, the driving force is simply this, because I did a survey very early on in my business of what really motivated people around building a business. And it's always that they want to help people.
Yeah.
I want to help. And that's the number one thing. And if you just focus on how can I really love and care for people, best, on every level, I really think like that's where it's at. Where we get in trouble, though, at the same time, is if we don't have that fire and steel, is what I talk about. But yeah, that dragon slayer kind of mentality, usually it's not going to work out too well for you because you're always going to, you're going to have bad boundaries. You'll get extravagant and spend on overgive in different ways, whether it's financially or with your time and energy or whatever. And we're just trying to help people. This isn't about money or whatever. It goes to the side, right? And then, of course, as you would agree, you don't have a business then. Like you don't have a true business then. It's something else. But yeah, I love that because it kind of brings all these elements together of being in that place of real flow and feminine, I want to say, even or whatever.
The feminine is the heart center.
Great, let's do it.
Yes. Well, and it's also the other piece I'll draw from it is the idea of an epic journey. Right? When you context your narrative in your business as an epic journey, people love it. You love it. right? Who doesn't want to go and create good things and learn how to get stronger and do great things in the world and make the world better? Like, who doesn't want that? So how you can craft the narrative of your team around that. I had an interesting experience, and this is where it's like, I really like, this is so simple to me, and I know it's simple to you, probably simple to most, but it's not simple to everybody. And this is the reason why I'm really focused on helping companies that want to grow to a greater level of scale, because it needs to exist in more companies that are big. They need to have this information. I was at a private equity group. I was invited by a private equity group a couple months ago, and they were interested actually in buying my healthcare company. And that's one of the cool things that happens if you can do that, and if it's interesting to you. I didn't do it, but it was a conversation, and I was like one of like, I was like the only founder that was a woman there. And, and so they're talking to all these different businesses. And I was talking to another healthcare founder who has a very similar business as mine. And it's two people who are not heart-centered. And, they're talking to me about why. So we provide around the clock nursing care for medically fragile kids and adults. Okay. What is more purposeful and mission oriented than that? Right. So, and they have a business that's similar, and they're talking to their nurses. They can't understand why their nurses, think about your audience, who you serve. They're talking about their nurses about trying to get them to grow revenue. These nurses don't care about revenue. They could get two hoots. As a matter of fact, it's making them angry when you're talking about revenue. They're actually, they're losing trust in you, right? So, and I said, you really don't talk to them about revenue, do you? And they were like, well, yeah. I'm like, what else would we talk about? How about
Wow.
how about service? How about care? How about, how do we, like, my context is always, we're trying to bring kids out of the hospital, babies with trachs and vents. We want to bring them home. Who doesn't want to go take care of a baby that's got that going? Or would you go take care of another person and bill more hours? Who's going to be inspired by that? Right. And so, and it's not just to get people to do things, because that's not where I'm headed. It has to be really authentic, because people who on your teams will smell it a mile away. You have to be grounded in your truth and authenticity about what your purpose is, what you're serving, who you care about, what's the transformation you want to bring to your patients, your families, your customers, whoever it is. And the more specific you can be, this is one of the things I've learned, the more specific you can be about what that transformation is that you're creating, the more you give license to your team to create that. So in our case, it was, we termed it remarkable care. So creating remarkable moments, heartfelt moments in people's lives. And again, how, it's part of our recipe is, where do you choose to be great? Where do you choose to be great? And how you grow your business. And if I were teaching marketing, I might call it your unique selling proposition. But that's a bore. It's not about selling. It's about creating greatness, chasing greatness. It's being that hero on an epic journey and overcoming the hero's journey, Joseph Conrad, right? How do I face my shadow and reveal my light? Right? When it becomes that, and when you create that narrative, people don't just do better work, they transform lives, their own and whoever. So I don't know, diatribe there. That's part of the context, though, is we look for the thing that's an area of greatness that you can really sink your teeth into. And for us, it was always about hiring and caring for our nurses. That was all, and it wasn't about being the most clinically excellent, right? It wasn't. It was about creating a loving place where people could go and work and do their best work, feel honored. So, for being a spiritual rock star, it's tapping into what matters you most, and then going out and doing it. And like you said, it is a mixture of iron and steel. and heart and soul and love, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and just talking about the example you gave, I mean, if the nursing staff is in another level of, I want to say, consciousness, whatever state of being, all that sort of stuff, it's a healing environment. There's going to be better outcomes for the patients. And although it may in the short term be less profitable, quite frankly, financially, potentially, you know it way better than I do, but I'm just guessing. Long term, I would think it pays huge dividends at so many levels. Employee retention, happiness, and less healthcare costs for the people that are working with you. So many things, less people calling, less turnover, blah 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 blah. And then you also have for the patients, what happens, I know, like
Yeah.
when my sister or my mom who have regular issues, especially my sister, they go to a facility, and if it's really good, they're like, I'm earmarking this one for the next time I need something. Like, and I'm not going to that other place when all that crazy shit happened, right? And so, it makes a huge difference in the long term in terms of what's possible. But yeah, I mean, there's so much one of the things too, I don't know if it should be part of our conversation or not, but I want to bring it up.
Sure.
Another thought I had today is I know there's a bunch of, I've had people on the show too, where we've talked about investing and, the
Yes.
stock market, right? And you have companies thinking about that, I suppose, with what you do too, like at some point when I want to be listed, and get, do the stock thing and everything. But I think it's like that's a really tricky road to, and it's a more advanced conversation maybe, but
Yeah.
just in general, I think it can be very destructive, potentially, because it depends on the consciousness with it. But like, okay, Philip Morris was one of the best stocks of all time for a long time, but look at some of the
Mhm.
impacts they were having with the cigarettes and everything, right?
Totally.
A lot of people got rich off Philip Morris. Is that a great thing? Well, I guess kind of, but the destruction that was happening through it, no, right?
No,
So
I would say no.
yeah, exactly. Overall, it's a net.
No, right? And so, I mean, I think you're tapping into some things that are important, I think, as founders to think about. And
Yeah.
um, one of the things that founders experience, and I know, you've experienced it, I've experienced it, it's like as you're growing, you need to make investments in the business. And how do you go about doing that? How much do you need to invest? And where do you invest it? Do you know if it's going to return, to growth, or is it just going to be another one of those marketing things you buy and it's just a waste of money? And, now you've got more credit card debt, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. So as you're growing, to grow to 1 million and then to grow beyond that requires a different level of understanding of how to find capital and what the trade-offs are of that capital, right? So if you take in if you take in venture, you need to be willing to sell your company in 5 to 8 years. You got to be that's going to be your purpose. You got to get out. If you don't want to do that, you're not going to go to venture, right? And stock market, I actually have absolutely no desire whatsoever, and I say that today, and maybe it could change tomorrow. But at this moment in my experience, I don't have a desire to lead a company that's on the stock market because it's so driven by profit
Yeah.
and short-term profit. And to me, it's not the world I want to play in. I want to help more purpose-led leaders get over the hurdles of scale. And part of that is figuring out how to get funded and what you need. And that's part of the steel, the strategy, like that's part of it. But keeping your commitment to what is your purpose, what is your vision, what are your values, where are you trying to go? What's the impact? So in my version of a purpose, core purpose is the transformation you want to bring to every single customer you touch. And so it's not what you do, it's the reason you exist. It's what you're going to help them experience. And so I don't want to get stuck someday having an owner and I've experienced it. I have partners, I've done mergers, I've done, it's hard. Sometimes we have to do it if it's what's needed for, to fund your company, and your company is in the red, and sometimes you have to do it. But if you need to know as you're growing what those costs are, right? And, again, it's important to me. It's always important to me that I'm able to stay highly aligned with my purpose, my vision, and my values.
Yeah. So with the work that you do, I know you have the book we mentioned, it's out, and but how do for me, it's just kind of not like I went to one workshop or something and bang, read one book and bang, I know what I want to be focused on for the next 10 years. It's just for me, it's just kind of the accumulation of everything, and just all of a sudden just the clarity comes in, and it's just like, okay, this is it. I'm going in this direction.
Yeah.
And I imagine that's that way for a number of people. It's not like they get in their analytical mind and
Mhm.
figure something out that's going to work for them. It's usually from a sort of a download, or just all of a sudden life reveals that this thing wants to happen. How do you guide people though when they have a sense of it, they're starting to develop something, they're probably not a complete zero, they have a sense of where they want to go, or maybe they already have the business going already, but they're still trying to refine what their purpose, vision is and whatnot. You've pointed into it a little bit, but what are some of the processes you take people into to help
Yeah.
them to flesh things out?
Great question. So I always think of my growth strategy, so to speak, as a draft, because the idea is to constantly be listening within again and hearing what your guidance is telling you. And so one of the tools I use, so I like structure, and then I like to use that structure to hear my wisdom. So,
Mhm.
there's a basic, there's three basic tools that we use. One is the 4-page impact plan, 4-page growth plan, and it has 4 parts to it. So you're going to first know your purpose, know who you serve, know your impact plan, how you're going to get, it's a 10-year plan. And then last is knowing your highest and best use, which is kind of a different thing. But on this plan, the idea is that it is intended to be a place to capture your wisdom,
Mhm.
right? And you might start the first time you do it, the first draft, and you like have, I listen for resonance, right? So each question, you're looking for how much resonance you have. And sometimes you write something down and you're like, I know this isn't going to be what it is forever. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being top resonance of what is my core purpose, it's about a 3. But I wrote
Mhm.
something down.
Right.
Okay. And then, as you move on and capture all the other pieces, what happens is you enroll your unconscious wisdom to begin puzzling these questions that you don't have an answer to right now in clear words. And it allows you to come back to it then, this 4 pages over and over again, and refine, take the information you have, collect more information from how did it go last week? What happened last week? You were going to go out and you were going to do a bunch of sales calls, and you did them. What happened? So now let's collect some data. Now, how does that, with what I learned in that is I had this connection with this customer, and that really helped me understand better what my message is. That really helped me understand better what I need to change in my product or my service. That really helped me see, boy, if I changed this part of my marketing funnel, it would help me, right? It would elevate my whole system. So the
Mhm.
idea is that you are always okay. And this is one of the things about being an entrepreneur. You always have to be okay with imperfection.
Right.
Right. So one of the things we do is an assessment along the way when we're going through and creating the plan. We do an assessment. And I've done this in my own company. I've done it with other clients over the years. And what ends up happening is everybody does the assessments, like 70, 80 things. and everybody reflects on it, and what you discover is most things in your business, you're like pretty average. You're like a 3. There's only a few places that you're really doing like knockout good, like getting a 5. And there's only a couple places where it's really kind of like, ooh, we really should fix that. That's bad. And what we have to do as energetic beings is understand that we don't need everything to be a 5. That would be a waste of our precious energy and focus.
Right.
Right? That's not where I'm a dragon slayer, or this company collectively is going to be a dragon slayer. This is where we can be great, and where it's aligned with our purpose, and where it's aligned with profit. And this is where we can create something and go deep. And that's one of the things that, like, I think it separates the leaders, the ones who can grow and the ones who don't, the ones who need everything to be perfect. And not like, look, I think of, and this hopefully isn't like a bad example for this crowd, but like you get up in the morning and you get on a hamster wheel, right? Your hamster wheel is your life. It's your rituals. It's the things you do every day. It's what's happening in your business, in your office, your interactions. And that is what's creating your results, whether it's your health, your wealth, your relationships, your business, the number of customers you have, the whatever it is, it's that hamster wheel. So love that hamster wheel, because there's a lot in that hamster wheel that's working, right? We don't need to rejigger the whole hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Let's just see what would make that hamster wheel be a little more fluid.
Yeah.
Right? Just to help it like, I look for a constraint and an accelerator. There's always one core constraint that, when fixed, will release tension and pressure and stress. And there's one accelerator that, if you were to press it, it would create a domino effect. And so what I look for is simplicity. You create your 4-page plan, and it helps you sort of reflect on what's that breakthrough that's the constraint and the accelerator that we could have together. And how would that be a reclamation of our collective worthiness and brilliance? If that makes sense. So it's a tool, and you use it, and it's practical, but it invites you to bring your wisdom into the conversation. The other piece that we do is we have a transformational map. Okay. And it's a visual picture of what it looks like to create change, right? It's so growth requires change. It's actually, again, it's the hamster wheel. You don't need to change the whole hamster wheel. What can you change that will make the biggest result? Right. And the changes are going to be physical changes that you're going to do in the world. You're going to, I find that when I do these sales calls, I get more customers. Well, if I do 1 a week, I wonder what would happen if I did 20 a week, right? It's figuring out that accelerator, but it's also what's holding me back from those, from doing those 20. Or am I not, maybe I'm the wrong person to do the 20. Right? Maybe I need to find somebody else to do it, or maybe there's a skill that I don't have, or there's an unconscious, limiting belief around my ability to do that. So it's looking at your individual path to creating change, the changes you need to make in order to help your company grow, and your team, and what it's going to look like, right? So progress is not always pretty. Progress doesn't look pretty. I'll tell you, I had the year that I hit, high 8 figures, and created what others would maybe say was kind of cool, was one of the hardest years of my life. Right? It didn't feel good. It was rich with there's a cycle I talk about in my book of mastery and what it means to grow. And what we're doing is we're unconscious about something that's not working. And then we become conscious that it's not working. And that feels like uncomfortability and frustration and shame and all that. And then we finally start to make changes that make it better. And when we do that, we start to feel like tired and we don't want to get all the way to the end. And, so then we're exhausted and bored and, and then we finally get to the place where it's just part of our hamster wheel again. And then we start over. But where in those moments did you hear me say it's fun?
Right.
The cycle of growth isn't always pleasant, right? We have to lay in moments of pleasant to our cultures, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think with that point of it's not always fun is that I think I think that's to me is just making things more real because
Yeah.
because there's so many again in this industry, you're not exactly in this industry the way that I am right now, like still it's a little different with you, I feel. But anyway, but being in this but the coach, healer, whatever kind of industry, yeah, like the idea of marketing is to make everything look perfect. Yeah, we're living bliss and we're going to 7, 8 figures and we just floated into it and it was so easy. And, like there's a fair amount of that that's, put out there. And, just, if you just go with your bliss, it's all perfect. And, I just don't believe people that say that. Like, no. Now, I do believe that a lot of them tend to follow their fun and joy that say they're doing. I believe they tend to do that. That doesn't mean they don't have soul crushing hard things they deal with on a regular basis, right? That's
Totally.
that's because that's usually the reality when I talk to these people privately. Is
Yeah.
there's a other, it's like the dark side of their life, kind of like
Yeah.
their dark side of it. And it's like then you find out all the dark secrets about what's been going on with them, all the challenges, how they almost committed suicide, maybe even, or
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
almost up, they almost decided to shut the business down or whatever. And they're the same people say, I get tons of results. Never been happier. Like
Yeah.
they're the
Yeah.
same people on those stages. It's crazy.
No, it's important to voice the journey. And that's why
Yeah.
I call it a dragon slayer.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not going out and slaying kittens. You're slaying dragons,
Mm-hmm.
things that are scary and hard. That's what's happening. You're going and doing the things that are hard. And that's, I said before, knowing what your purpose is, knowing who you serve, knowing your impact plan. The last thing is to know your highest and best use. And that's slaying dragons,
Mm-hmm.
right? With your heart wide open. And that, it's not getting right back onto that hamster wheel and doing what's comfortable. It's doing the things that are often challenging and push you out of your comfort zone, the things that will create impact, that will create change for yourself and for others, those things that will help you grow as a human, right?
Mm-hmm.
So look, everybody has their COVID stories. In COVID, I can't tell you, I would not have been able to function if I did not have the first part of my 4-page plan, which was the elements of my purpose. It is what drew me through every day. Like we had grown the company the year before to 0 to 6.5 million in revenue. Okay. It sounds like a big deal. I wasn't happy during any of it. I wanted to hire 15 nurses a month. We not one month hit 15 nurses. We were like 10, 12, there was loss, there was this, there was that. I was bleeding cash. Okay. So I had 6.5 million, but that doesn't say anything about how much it costs to run the business. And then now we're finally at this point where we're break even and COVID happens.
Right.
All right. COVID happens. And now I can't hire a single nurse. And I'm like barely break even. And I'm starting to see my numbers go down. Right. So it was all about digging into how do I surround my team, my families, my patients with remarkable care? How do I give that to myself? What does that look like? And how do I look at my 4-page plan? What are my options? Like, where are my constrictors and accelerators? What do I need to do? And, it's through that I was able to sort of, think about a whole other thing, which was, well, I had this, like maybe I should acquire another company. That's what I thought. And I was like, I don't have the money to acquire another company, but I don't like the thought of unraveling this business. I had 150 nurses, 150 patients, all these medically fragile kids and adults who are finally out of the hospital. I'm like, it's a healthcare company. They're gonna chase after me for years if I don't figure this out. I mean, I'm talking, these are dragons.
Yeah.
Right? These are dragons. And so but I pulled myself together and decided on a strategy, right? Listening to my wisdom about how we were going to continue to grow. And, and then I said, I'm going to go out and I'm going to find money to do this. And so I did. I went and found an angel investor and we were able to do it. We looked at different companies to buy. We ended up partnering, merging two companies. So a company that is in my backyard, twice as big as my company. We merged together. We own, I still own half. I'm now on the board. I don't go to work ever anymore. It's bizarre, right? I do advocacy stuff, but and that wasn't fun either. Wasn't fun to let go of my brand. It wasn't fun to like that. Like that. I had built this company that I loved, and now I'm super prosperous in one way, but I'm not in the business every day. And so there's a heartbreak that comes with that, which is why I started A Force for Good, right? As a way to heal my soul, right? So this journey of entrepreneur, it's like we are on this journey because we have no other choice. We're called to it. And it is, if we allow it, going to make our lives rich. And it's going to create a path for us to grow. But it's not easy. No. It's not easy. And this is why we need our wisdom and we need our community, right? We need community so that we can know we're not alone and we can hear each other and share in the challenges. So
yeah, it's so interesting, Coco, because there are people that claim they're making tons of money in different industries and say every day, I just going back to what I said before, every day is like a dream, like kind of vibe. And you guys don't get it. Everything gets easier when you let it, and then you get more money because you let it be easier. And I just say, and again, I don't believe them. Again, every single one of them, if I pin them down, I say, don't you deal with really hard stuff like
totally.
like the regular, they're all going to say, oh, well, yeah, I guess, like
Well, it's the puzzles get different as you scale. Like, because I am still involved a little bit. I'm not there every day, but like there is a truth to be said that when you have a certain scale, there is a different mindfulness about what your choices are, right? What your choices are become different, but it doesn't mean that you don't have to continue to do hard things. And here's the thing, if you're not doing hard things, you're not growing.
Exactly.
Right. I can tell you, it's just, and you're probably getting complacent, and that really means that you're kind of numb and you're not really very happy in your life anyway. So, and it doesn't mean you have to find, the next, building to jump off of and skydive off of, or whatever they call that. It's not adrenaline seeking. It is I do have a very, very big belief that whenever a business gets to a certain scale and plateaus, it's because the owner, the leaders, the leadership team has plateaued in their growth, and there's something in them, whether it's letting go or surrender or giving up control, or something where they feel like they need to do all the things. They're the only ones who can make all the decisions. I need to be at the center of it all in order for it to work. There's stuff like that goes on where there's always that next constant evolution. And I can see that there's what I do think is interesting about revenue. Okay, we talked about revenue earlier. I think there's different spiritual lessons that happen at different stages of revenue growth.
Yes.
Right? Like you're really truly going through a different series of personal development exercises to
Mhm.
go from 0 to 100K, 100K to a million to 3, 3 to 10, 10 to 20. You are
Mhm.
going through, you're learning different lessons. And so I like the tangibility of the numbers because in that way, because they reflect the interior, okay, like I can get a sense of, all right, well, I know generally speaking, when somebody's going from one of those spots to another, what their hardships are,
Right.
and probably what the things are that's inside of them that they're holding on to that they need to let go of so that they can make a leap.
Mm, interesting. That's fantastic. Well, I have so many more questions. We didn't even really deeply touch on the fact that you're really focused on helping women and
It's fine.
um
It's all good.
yeah, but I just wanted to mention that, yeah, you're really passionate about that and that you know, a lot of the women aren't getting the kind of funding that they could use. There's not, you know, for whatever the reasons are, you know, you could speak to that, I suppose, but it's we wrap up. But yeah, I would love for you first though to go ahead and share with everybody where they can check out your book, which I'm assuming has some of the stuff in it, right? That we
Oh
talked
yeah.
about depth, right? The
Yes.
assessment. I love assessments. Everyone loves those quizzes and
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
assessments, and yeah, we'd love to learn more about it.
Oh, thank you, Dan, for asking.
Mhm.
So you can find my book at www.aforceforgood.biz/book.
Mhm.
And there you will find when you get the book, you will immediately be able to get the toolkit that comes along with it. And it is comprehensive. So you start with these initial pieces, the 4-page plan, the transformational map, and some rituals. And then you can dive in. Each sort of blank on the 4-page plan has its own tool that goes with it to help you define your core purpose, or define what your position statement is, or define your area of greatness. And it's all intended to be connected through your higher wisdom. And you can buy the book and get started and start to get a sense for what it's about, and share it with your team, share it with whoever you like.
Mhm. Yeah, and I just love that it's all about, you know, the inner journey ultimately. Yeah, there's these outer things we're doing, right?
Yes.
And yet it's all about this inner, you know, transformation and growth for not only the owner, but everybody involved, the customers, everything. Like it's all transforming the world, right? So I love that. And yeah, just one, you know, one extra thing I wanted to ask is I feel that, you know, you have ways of helping like women who are maybe having a hard time finding, you know, angel investors and stuff.
Mhm.
Is there, you know, do you do consultations for especially for women to help them figure these type of things out and then navigate their next steps of growth?
I do. And what I invite you to do is I invite people to go and get the 1-page growth plan. It's a small 1-day growth plan. It's a smaller version. It's more succinct. It has videos to help you kind of get through it. And then it's a perfect segue into a session with me, and I do that for free. And in that context, it helps me give you good support and guidance, because then I know a little more about your business than what you can tell me. Like if you can do that work first, then I can see where you are on your journey, and I can start to see places where you could, whether you're already looking for funding and you're out and you're doing pitches all the time, I could guide you towards specific places, relationships that I have with venture capital that focus on women, or focus on sustainability, or focus on food technology, or whatever it is that you're specifically doing. And, help you think about also, like, I don't like it when founders go too early for money. Like, I like it I encourage founders to wait as long as they can, because you're selling
Yeah.
your equity, you're selling your own value,
Hmm.
or you've really produced the value that I know is in you. And so
Yeah.
I want you to wait as long as you can before you sell any of it off, and do it really strategically. So
Yeah. Yeah. Got to reinvest in the company, right? That's old standard business practices. Some of the old tried and true methods are still apply for sure.
Yeah,
Big
for
time.
sure.
Okay, so yeah, we have just 5 minutes or so. It won't be forever here, but
Yeah, yeah.
wrap up where you do have our energy scan segment. So are you ready to receive a little bit of energy scanning and downloading from me, Coco?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. All right, so we're going to tune in and remember, everybody, this is for all of you listening in too. There may be a download in here that awakens something within you as well. All right, let's see what comes through. Wow. Okay, so the vision I've been given as I tune into you is they really take me up to a place where it feels like you're meeting at a soul level already, beginning to meet with these. I feel like you're supposed to ultimately work with people who are even way higher up, with business, like way higher up than what this focus is right now. And I just feel like it's almost, I get a sense like you're whipping them into shape, like, listen, you need to change your ways, and like, otherwise, blah blah blah. But it feels like it's a group of businesses. It doesn't feel like it's, and maybe there's like, it's almost like a consortium. I don't know, that's the wrong word, but like it's. I don't even know what the right word is, but it feels like it's almost like a World Economic Forum, only different. It almost feels like there's a bunch of businesses getting into it,
Yeah.
and you're helping to spearhead it. So I don't know. It seemed pretty cool, whatever it is. But we can talk about it a little bit if you want after I get another download here or two. Let's see what else comes through. There's so many things that come through. That's why I laugh, because I laugh at some of the different voices come through. So one of the things, and again, some of these things are a little vulnerable, I know, but I think you're fine with it. But I just get like there is a little voice in there that just shows up of you're not a victim, but like there's a little bit of like
Mhm.
like why do I have to deal with this or something like that, or it's like and I see it in the throat chakra and down in the sacral chakra, and you know it's almost like, why can't I have more fun, and why can't I have more of that, or like there's certain things that you'd like more of, and there's that part that's kind of unsatisfied, is kind of part of your jam. There's always that part that's sort of unsatisfied,
Yeah.
and it's probably what also why you can achieve things that you achieve for sure, but it also the sense that it's like, come on, I need to be heard, and I want to have more fun, and I want to get in there, and so I was just picking up on all that energy, and but the more you're lighter with it, you keep consciously recognizing it or whatever, like at a minimum, like you can let it just, like, I'm off. Hopefully you do already, but like, it can be creative, it can be a creative force. Yeah, because it can really come up with all kinds of crazy scenarios.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but it's a creator energy in its evolved form, but in its devolved form, it's like a funny whiner complainer.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then another part that's just really like sad me, I'm sad. And I know it's serious too, but I'm saying it's kind of fun. The way they're showing it to me, it sort of looks comical. And so
Yeah.
I just, anyway, I'll just share what comes through.
I love that. I actually really love it. We're going through a big change in our lives. And it's and I have been complaining.
Oh,
I have,
yeah.
and so it is actually really helpful. I love that you shared the comical side of it, and that you positioned it. What was the word you used? I'm going to have to write it down. Yeah, creative. There was a creative something you used. I'll have to go back and listen to it when you publish, but it can be an avenue for creativity. I get that. And and it's funny. Like I can hear myself and I can go, "Oh, yeah, like that's funny. Like I'm
Right.
complaining,
It's yourself, right? Yeah. That's
I'm
kind of funny.
complaining about this thing, right? It's just like it's not serving me, right?
Right. Because
Right?
you're connected very strongly to your observer, and
Yeah.
ultimately you can, see that and just laugh. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, that's
actually
great.
really it's a beautiful insight. And it is very transformative and healing, right? To be able to use the comic and comedy to something that can sometimes be hard, right? The part of you
Yeah.
that's sad or healing or whining, right?
The other side of it is like this genius, creative inner child, like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe we could have fun. Maybe we could do one of these and one of those,
Well,
like,
well, and I'll give some voice to it. I would love to spend more time
yeah.
on my creative pursuits, and I'm finishing some old things.
Mm.
And so I want to move forward, and I am complaining about that. And it's not serving me, Dan. And I appreciate that you brought it because it's not to be it's part of my energy and my creative energy. I want it to be prosperous to myself and to others, right? And so um I need to just rethink about it and like you said, to activate it as a creative force for good.
Yeah. Yes, 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 yes. A force for good. And so it is. Amen. All right. So, everybody, just if you want to check me out, by the way, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com. There's a free meditate, make money meditation. If you've heard me say this a million times, you haven't got it yet. What's wrong with you? Go get it. It's great. It opens up your energy, your chakras. It allows you to get your downloads for the day if you listen to it daily. Gets you connected with abundance and flow and I can't recommend it enough. Just like my energy scan trainings, I can't recommend it enough. You can find those on my website as well. If you want to be able to tune in, like you're seeing me doing today, and much more than that, of course, but that's still sampling. And you also can get an energy scan consultation with me. You can find one on there, by the way. It's a Rock Your Sacred Purpose energy scan consultation. And what I do is I tune into you, and it's very deep and rich. We record it so that you can play it back because you typically, like, people get excited by some of the things that come through, but they're also resistant. And I'm like, you need to keep listening to it because you need more of that. And
Yes,
so point
yes.
out the deeper things that you really need to know about that are going on for you and want to happen for your life and in your business. I focus a lot with business people. So check that out on my website. And if you want to. Okay, and so Coco, I always like to give the guests sort of the last word. I'm so wordy sometimes; it doesn't always work out that way. But I give you the last word. Yeah, any last words you have for the audience?
Oh, just love yourself and what you've created. Like, like what you have and what you've built, wherever you are, it's the seed of brilliance and beauty, and there's nothing wrong with it. Like reclaim the beauty of whatever you're creating is, whether it's just an idea in your mind or it's a business in form that you've been working on for 20 years, whatever it is, start with love. That's it.
Mm. Oh, oh yes, yes, amen. Let's begin and end with love. Always love, 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 love. Oh, thank you so much. I told you I didn't promise to give you the very, very last word. Can't help
That's
myself
okay.
sometimes. All right. Anyhow, it's so wonderful to have you on today, Coco. It's always so informative. You always have things to share that are very, helpful or impactful for me. So I'm deeply grateful you're on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and thanks for everybody listening and keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time. For listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.